Alright, this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 6, Text 38. Please repeat after me. Yasavatara karmani Gayanti yasmadadaya Nayam vidanti tatvena Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha Yasyavatara karmani Gayanti yasmadadaya Nayam vidanti tatvena Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha Yasyavatara karmani Gayanti yasmadadaya Nayam vidanti tatvena Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha. Word for word. Yasya, whose, avatara, incarnation, karmani, activities, gayanti, chant in glorification, he, indeed, asmat adaya, persons like us, na, do not, yam, whom, vedanti, no, tatvena, cent percent as he is, tasmai, unto him, bhagavate, unto the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, Namaha, respectful obeisances. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto that Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose incarnations and activities are chanted by us for glorification, though He can hardly be fully known as He is. Please repeat. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto that Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose incarnations and activities are chanted by us for glorification, though He can hardly be fully known as He is. Purport. It is said that the transcendental name, form, quality, pastimes, paraphernalia, personality, etc. cannot possibly be perceived by the gross materialistic senses. But when the senses are purified by the process of hearing, chanting, remembering, and worshipping the lotus feet of the holy deity, etc., the Lord reveals Himself proportionately to the advancement of the quality of devotional service. Yeyata mam prapadyante. One should not expect the Lord to be an order-supplying agent who must be present before us as soon as we desire to see Him. We must be ready to undergo the prescribed devotional duties, following the path shown by the predecessors in the disciplic succession from Brahma, Nara, and similar authorities. As the senses are progressively purified by bona fide devotional service, the Lord reveals His identity according to the spiritual advancement of the devotee. But one who is not in the line of devotional service can hardly perceive Him simply by calculations and philosophical speculations. Such a hard worker can present a jugglery of words before an audience, but can never know the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his personal feature. The Lord has clearly stated in the Bhagavad Gita that one can know Him only by devotional service. No one can know the Lord by any puffed up material process of challenge, but the humble devotee can please the Lord by his earnest devotional activities. Thus the Lord reveals himself proportionately before the devotee. Lord Brahma therefore offers his respectful obeisances as a bona fide spiritual master and advises us to follow the process of Shravana and Kirtana. Simply by this process, or simply by hearing and chanting the glories of the activities of the Lord's incarnations, one can certainly see within himself the identity of the Lord. We have already discussed this subject in Volume 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam in connection with this verse. Tat shraddhana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashyantyatmani chatmanam bhaktya shruta grihitaya. Bhagavatam 1-12. The conclusion is that one cannot know the Supreme Personality of Godhead fully by any method, but he can be seen and felt partially by the devotional service process of hearing, chanting, etc. Offer my respects to Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya, for ISKCON, giving us the Srimad Bhagavatam and giving us these temples and everything we need to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and especially for giving us these nice purports and translations to the Srimad Bhagavatam. I offer my respects to all the devotees and request the senior devotees to be merciful to me, allow me to speak, to sit on the Vyasa-san and speak on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Very grateful for the opportunity. So, continuing to hear from Lord Brahma. And who is Lord Brahma speaking to? Narada, yeah. Narada asked Lord Brahma if he was the Supreme Creator, because it appears that he is in all respects from Narada's position, that Lord Brahma is the Supreme Lord. But he asked him to be sure because he saw that he was engaging in austerities. So he must be getting his power from somewhere else. So then Brahma said, yes, I'm getting my power from someone else. I'm getting my power from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. And now he's continuing to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. So in this verse, it's a really nice meditation. I've been meditating on it for a few days now. That Lord Brahma is saying that he actually cannot fully understand Krishna. He's saying he has all this realization. He's even met Krishna. Krishna has appeared before Lord Brahma. It's interesting. The first point I want to speak about is Lord Brahma's position. Lord Brahma's position. And this touches upon the creation, the concept of creation from the Bhagavatam's perspective. The creation is an important part of spiritual life. And all religious systems, they touch on the process of creation, understanding how the universe was created. Who were the first people in the universe? In the Christianity, there's Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, and then there's snake there, and he tempts them to engage in enjoying their senses with the apple. And then they go for it. It's an analogy. It actually is quite accurate. It's an accurate analogy of humankind dabbling into personal sense enjoyment. It's the Adam and Eve. But it's more allegorical, actually. And The Bhagavatam's conception of the creation of the universe is that Lord Brahma there's this first living being in the universe, and he becomes empowered to thus recreate the material universe. So the material universes are created and destroyed repeatedly because that's the nature of the material energy. The material energy is described as the external energy of the Supreme Lord. It's this inferior potency, and it's created for a specific purpose. And Lord Brahma it's actually a post. Lord Brahma, it's a post that any jiva or minute living entity can attain that post of Lord Brahma, being the first living entity in the universe. So I'm going to keep speaking a bit about Lord Brahma, so we can get to the point that Lord Brahma is making, because it's very profound that even Lord Brahma cannot understand Krishna. This is the main point of this text. But in order to understand what that means, we have to understand who Lord Brahma is, and if he can't even understand Krishna, how are we going to understand Krishna with our senses, with our material senses? It's astonishing that Lord Brahma cannot understand Krishna, because in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, there's the story of Gopakumar. He travels all the way up from the Earth planet up to the higher planetary systems, up to Brahma Loka, and the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it very elaborately explains his journey. And by the time he gets to Lord Brahma's planet, he possesses all mystic abilities, mystic potencies, so much so that when he just thinks of something, he thinks of a place, he can travel to that place. It's explained that he gets bewildered by his own potencies, because he's chanting his Gopal mantra, and he keeps making spiritual advancement, and he climbs up the universal system all the way up to the higher planetary systems, and he gets to Lord Brahma's planet, and at this point he's already been to Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka. He's experienced what it's like on those higher planets, and each phase it gives a little glimpses that Gopakumar is actually attaining mystical abilities to travel here and there on his journey. And it's described, so he gets to Lord Brahma's planet. So the higher you go up in the universe, the more qualified the beings are. So Lord Brahma, it's described in the Bhagavad Gita that Brahma is in the highest planet in the universe. Abrahma bhuvanaloka punar avartunorjuna. So Lord Brahma is in the highest planet. So this is the conception of the Bhagavatam. The creation is not that the creation comes from a big bang, that two rocks came together in the sky, exploded, and then millions and millions of years passed by, and then algae started to grow in the oceans on these rocks that somehow expanded. And then from these algae, singular molecules started becoming multiple molecules, and then slowly they became germs and algae, and the algae advanced into fish and things like this. So originally there was nothing, then there was a rock exploded, and then there was germs and bacteria, and then eventually species evolved, and then eventually humans came about. And then here we are exploring the concept of consciousness. We're alone in this world, and we're just figuring things out by ourselves. This is the concept of creation in the scientific community. But the story of creation in the Bhagavatam is that the first living entity is the most advanced, the most intelligent. He's the most intelligent, and his body is actually made out of pure intelligence. He doesn't have a gross body like us. It's described that the higher you go up in the universe, the more subtle the universe is, the elements. that Lord Brahma's planet is not gross matter. It's his body is made out of pure intelligence. So anything he thinks, he can come into be. And there's description of Lord Brahma's abode that it's full of all mystic potencies. It's like basically almost like the spiritual world, but it's the closest thing really. Everything is almost like a touchstone, and everyone there can anything they desire, they can think, it can come about, because they don't have gross material bodies. It's almost like in a dream, when you're in a subtle body. If anybody has any experience with like lucid dreaming or anything like that, if you're in a dream, you can start creating like your surroundings. Like you think a waterfall, and then it becomes a waterfall, and then you can fly over it. There's people that explain it like that. And it's similar like that, but then they're always in that situation. They don't have to wake up into their physical body. They're actually situated on a more subtle platform, and that's Lord Brahma's platform. So it's also explained that he has 4 heads. Lord Brahma has 4 heads. So not just one head that he can't understand Krishna, but he has 4 heads made out of pure intelligence, and he still can't understand Krishna. So, and also another thing to note about Lord Brahma is that he's actually the head of our sampradaya. Lord Brahma is the head of our Guru Parampara. He's the first connection in our lineage from Krishna to Lord Brahma to Nara to Vyasadeva, Shukadev Goswami. The teachings come down. So there's 4 sampradayas that start with Krishna himself, and from there it stems down into bona fide lineages of understanding the Vedic literature. And Lord Brahma is the lineage that our tradition, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has decided to enter into. It's called technically the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Brahma is actually our guru, and that's what Srila Prabhupada explains here, that Lord Brahma therefore offers his respectful obeisances as a bona fide spiritual master, and advises us. That's what a spiritual master does. Advises us to follow the process of Shravana and Kirtana. So Lord Brahma is our spiritual master. He's the beginning of our parampara, but he can't understand Krishna fully. That's the thing, fully. And the fact is that actually nobody can understand Krishna fully. That's what Prabhupada assumes here in the last phrase of the purport. It says, the conclusion is that one cannot know the Supreme Personality of Godhead fully by any method, but he can be seen and felt partially by the devotional service process of hearing, chanting, etc. So that's a big statement, that this is the conclusion, is that one cannot know the Supreme Personality of Godhead fully by any method. So here in this verse, we're hearing that about Krishna's Purusha incarnation, the Purusha Sukta, that Krishna is the source of the material universes. So the universe comes out of the pores of Krishna's expansion, of Mahavishnu. How can we understand this with our limited mind and intelligence? And then in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, actually, this is just a single fragment of himself. What's the verse? It says, in the Bhagavad Gita 10:42, he says, what need is all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. With a single fragment of myself, just one little fragment. This is his expansion. and even just his expansion, a fragmental expansion of Krishna, cannot be understood fully. What to speak of Krishna, his personal dealings, what he does when he wants to be happy, when he in his personal life. Creating the material universes is just one of his responsibilities or his jobs. It's his post as the eternal supreme Lord. But he has a personal life. Krishna has a personal life. And to understand Krishna's personal life is even more difficult than understanding how Krishna can create unlimited universes with just a single fragment of himself. And this is the confidential nature of the process of bhakti, of devotional service to Krishna. It says in the Bhagavad Gita, Raja Guyam, Raja Vidyam. The most confidential secret of all secrets is to understand Krishna. It's the most difficult thing to understand. The confidential nature of the Supreme Lord. This person, it's in the beginning, then we start to understand that Krishna is the source of the material universes. That's where the Bhagavatam begins. Krishna. First we have to begin with understanding that Krishna is the source of the material universes in this Purusha incarnation. So, I lost my train of thought. One second. So, first we have to understand that Krishna is the source of all the universes, and this is the beginning teachings of the Bhagavatam. And the Bhagavatam is called the Bhagavat Purana. And so, the Bhagavat Puranas are not like the Shrutis or the Vedas, where they have to be absolutely the same amount of syllables and verses, and they stay the same. The Puranas is a story, and it's a message. Actually, the Puranas are a message. So it's said. I just was reading that this Bhagavatam, the Bhagavat Purana, was first explained by Krishna to Lord Brahma, and then Lord Brahma spoke the Bhagavatam to Nara, and then Nara spoke it to Vyasadeva. And then it keeps coming down, and then we have the Bhagavatam as it is before us now, that Srila Prabhupada has gracefully given us through Sutta Goswami and the sages Sonaka Rishi, and then Parikshit Maharaj inquiring from Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami heard it from Vyasadeva. Shukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul, and he had no attachment to this material world. And he didn't even want to come out of the womb. For 16 years he stayed in his mother's womb. And he was so detached that when he came out of the womb, he just went away into the forest. And then Vyasadeva called to him. He's like, no, stop. But then he kept going. But Vyasadeva wasn't materially attached. Vyasadeva wanted to stop. He said stop because he wanted to teach him the Bhagavatam. That was his goal. And then he didn't stop, so then he had to send some of his disciples to chant some verses of the Bhagavatam to attract the attention of Shukadeva Goswami. So this is the main point that explains how the Bhagavatam and the process of devotional service is beyond the impersonal liberation, because Shukadeva Goswami had achieved impersonal liberation, but then he became so attracted and attached to the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he became the speaker of the Bhagavatam. And the Bhagavatam is the message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's a message. It's a lesson. The Bhagavat Purana. And the Lord first imparted that lesson to Lord Brahma himself. And what is that message? The message is in the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, the four essence seed slokas of the Bhagavatam is that message that the Lord personally spoke to Lord Brahma. In the first verse, I'll read it out. What Krishna first spoke to Lord Brahma, the seed of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He said, "Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who is existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead, and after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead." So this is what he spoke, the first verse, that there's a person, there's a supreme person behind the creation of this whole cosmos, this material universe, and he existed before the creation of this universe, and he'll exist after the creation of this universe. And he goes on to explain about the material nature, the nature of this material universe, and then the goal of getting out of this material universe. Getting out of the material universe is the goal. And how is that done? We have to understand Krishna. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says, "Janma karma cha me divyam evam yogati tatvata tyakva deham punar janma neti mameti sorjuna." This is a similar verse to this that's saying, if you know Krishna in full, tattva, then you become free from the cycle of birth and death. And how do we know? This is also given in the Bhagavatam. The message of the Bhagavatam gives us the process also. It gives us the knowledge of the Supreme Lord, the creator of the material cosmos, and it gives us the process by understanding. So I already explained, even if we are Lord Brahma, we have 4 heads made of pure intelligence, and we live in the higher planetary systems, and we still can't fully know Krishna with our material mind and senses. But how do we know Krishna? How can we understand Krishna? Partially. We can never know Krishna fully. We can never understand the Supreme Lord in His fullness. I'll speak about that a little bit more. But now, talking about the process of bhakti, we can only understand Him by the process of bhakti, by developing the proper attitude, actually, and by serving the Supreme Lord. This is quite logical. I think of it, it's like, how do we understand any great person? It's one thing you hear about somebody, let's say Donald Trump, the ex-president of the United States. You hear information, you see some stories, you hear what he said. One thing, you get some information, that's one level, but do you actually know the person? Do you actually know the person just by getting some information, or just seeing the person? Do you know the person? What does it mean to know a person? That's what we're understanding now, how to know Krishna. When I think of, I know somebody, I don't know Donald Trump, but I know Padma. I know him, and what does that mean also? It means that he knows me also. It means that we have a relationship. That's what it means to know somebody. And so since the Supreme Absolute Truth is a person, to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth, it means you have to have a relationship with that person, and that person reveals himself in intimacy with you. That's what it means to know somebody. And so that's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada quotes it, "Ye yata mam prapadyante." Tams tataiva bhajamyaham. Mama vartmanu vartate. I lost it. Tams tataiva bhajamyaham. Anyway, as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. And Prabhupada explains it nicely in this purport. He said, one should not expect the Lord to be an order supplier, agent, who must be present before us as soon as we desire to see him. We must be ready to undergo the prescribed devotional duties, following the path shown by the predecessors in the disciplic succession from Brahma, Nara, and similar authorities. As the senses are progressively purified by bona fide devotional service, the Lord reveals his identity according to the spiritual advancement of the devotee. So the Lord chooses to reveal himself. That's the only way to understand the Supreme Lord. It's the only way to understand any great personality, what to speak of the Supreme Lord. So that's the process of bhakti. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he says, you should not try to see Krishna. You should not try to see Krishna, but you should try to act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you. Act in such a way that Krishna will want to see you. And Krishna will reveal himself to you, and you will develop a relationship with Krishna. That's what it means to know Krishna. So, we can know Krishna by this process, as Prabhupada explains, only partially. And this was the main point actually that I've been meditating on this verse, that we can actually only ever know Krishna partially. And to me, this makes me really happy, actually. In one sense, you could be thinking, oh, I'll never know Krishna. But when you meditate on this point very deeply, actually, it brings about the highest ecstasy, because we can never ever fully know Krishna, and that means that there's always something to do. There's always going to be something to be wondered about. That we don't in the perfectional stage we won't be confused, but we will be astonished. That's the thing. We will be always astonished by the glories of Krishna. Because if Krishna was fully understood, then there would be nothing to do in the perfectional stage. It would just get boring. It would get repetitive. Oh, I understand everything. That's it. We won the game. There's no more to understand, and forever. And so it just becomes repetitive. Oh, Krishna's playing on his flute again. It's same thing, same old thing. But no, Krishna is. We can never fully know Krishna, and this keeps us on our toes on the eternal platform. It keeps the devotees always searching for more. And what is the more is more happiness, actually. Unlimited. Krishna's very nature is unlimited, can never be understood, and the devotees are always simply astonished by their loving relationship with this unlimited personality. And that's why, even in the practicing stage, we keep repeating the same names over and over and over and over and over and over. Every morning, same names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But why is it? How can you keep repeating these same names every day? Why? Because there's the potency of the Supreme Lord is in these names. It's this unlimited potency, and even after many years of chanting, we're still going deeper. I'm not that senior, only 6 or 7 years or something, but every day for 6 or 7 years, relatively, it's still some time to do something every morning. Repeat the same names over and over again. But there's a potency in the names. And it always, if you're attentive, there's always wonder, there's always astonishment, trying to understand the nature of the absolute truth. There's the verse one of the last verses of the Bhagavad Gita I wanted to share also. It's a really nice meditation. There's Sanjaya. Sanjaya is actually the seer of the Bhagavad Gita. He was speaking to Dhritarashtra. He is a mystic that he can see beyond time and space, and he was observing Krishna speaking on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he said, this is text 76, he said, "O king," speaking to Dhritarashtra, "as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment." Purport: the understanding of Bhagavad Gita is so transcendental that anyone who becomes conversant with the topics of Arjuna and Krishna becomes righteous, and he cannot forget such talks. This is the transcendental position of spiritual life. In other words, one who hears the Gita from the right source, directly from Krishna, attains full Krishna consciousness. The result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened, and he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time, but at every moment. I'll repeat that again. The result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened, and he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time, but at every moment. So that was the verse that came to my mind when understanding this inconceivableness of Krishna. Well, spiritual life and Krishna consciousness is you can actually enjoy life with a thrill at every moment, because the nature of the absolute truth is so unlimited and inconceivable. We can never fully understand Krishna, and this is what makes Krishna consciousness an adventure. Even just on the practicing stage, and it continues to be an adventure in the perfectional stage as well, where the devotees are continuously astonished by Krishna's mystic potencies, the potencies of the Supreme Lord. His potencies to create the material universes, his potencies to expand the spiritual universes, and his potencies to create these pastimes, the pastimes of Krishna in the spiritual world, continue to astonish the residents of the spiritual world. And so there's nobody who's bored in the spiritual world, because there's ever increasing astonishment by their relationship with Krishna. Krishna is the reservoir of all rasa. The reservoir of all rasa is the taste. Rasa is the exchange of love, the exchange of emotion that happens in any activity. And there's 5 primary rasas that we can have with Krishna, and there's 7 secondary rasas. And so this is what actually we're all hanking for, is unlimited rasa, unlimited happiness and experience of emotional states within anything that we do. It's actually explained that everything is rasa. So, like, an easy way to understand rasa is like through movies. When you watch a movie, the whole goal of a movie or a drama is that they try to get the audience to identify with the characters, the hero or heroine, and then by connecting the audience with the players in the drama, then they enact the drama, and then it evokes all this emotion, and the audience starts to identify with the drama. So there's different rasas. There's comedy movies, or there's romance, or there's friendly adventure, there's horror, and all these rasas are there within Krishna. And it's one of the things I was thinking, this rasa is like competitive rasa. There's the chivalry rasa, this desire to compete and to win, to be victorious. this is a big rasa in the material world. Even like I grew up watching sports, and so there's a lot of rasa in the sports, that when their big player in basketball, he goes up and does a slam dunk, like LeBron James or something, and then the crowd's like, yeah! That's like, there's like the rasa of chivalry. They won the game. But then with Krishna, it's like that rasa comes out like there's the arena, and he grabs Kamsa by the neck and drags him into the arena and kills him, punches him right in the arena, and then the crowd's like, yeah! and then the similar thing is like in the Shishupal with at this sacrifice, he's like bad-mouthing Krishna, and then everyone's like, what's going on? It brings up this drama, and then brings it to this height of drama, and then when it's at the height of the drama, Krishna's like, cuts off his head with the Sudarshan chakra. So Krishna is the reservoir of all rasa. Anything you could want in life, in this world, is there within Krishna consciousness. To its fullest extent. There's like watching a movie, you see, there's the movie Men in Black, there's this adventure movies, they go on these adventures and they kill these aliens. Similar thing is there with Krishna, and within every movie there's an element of some romance, some friendship, that's there with Krishna. You can be Krishna's best friend. You can walk through the forest with Krishna every day, and as a young cowherd boy, and you get that rasa of friendship with Krishna. And first of all, we hear about it, and then we gain attraction for it at the stage of sadhana bhakti. We have to hear about Krishna's activities. We become attracted to the reservoir of all rasa, and by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, we become freed from the desire to enjoy the rasa of the material world, because the rasa of the material world only leads to repeated birth and death. It doesn't lead to unlimited happiness, eternal life. So when we learn to relish the rasa malayam, we should relish the Srimad Bhagavatam. We don't need to study the Srimad Bhagavatam, we need to relish the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the third verse of the Bhagavatam, is that the Bhagavatam is like the ripened mango of the Vedic literature, and it doesn't have any pulp. It's just pure mango nectar, and we're supposed to relish the Srimad Bhagavatam, the ripened fruit of the Vedas. And we do that by continuously hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam in a regulated way. Every day, try to read the Srimad Bhagavatam from start to finish, and the hearing process is the most important anga of bhakti in the beginning stages. It's the foundation for all the other angas of bhakti. Chanting Hare Krishna is the most important functional activity, executing the chanting, group chanting, and then the other activities of bhakti, service for the temple, archana, worshipping the deities. The hearing process fuels the other angas of bhakti. So we have to continuously hear the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam to fuel all the rest of our activities. So we get inspiration, and we continue on this path, this perfect path of Krishna consciousness. And then we can know Krishna partially, only partially, not ever fully, but we can feel it and see him partially, which is an understatement to say that would be a nice thing. It's the perfection of our lives to reawaken our relationship with Krishna. So I'll end there. It's only a few more minutes. If there's any questions or comments or reflections, anything that possibly stuck out to anybody they'd like to share, from the class. Anybody have anything? Not sure. Prabhu? I can
One small comment in relation to that explosion. Prabhupada says, even if there was an explosion, we provided the chemicals.
Yeah. Prabhupada said that even if there was an explosion, who provided the chemicals for the explosion? That's an argument for the Big Bang Theory. Yeah. Thank you. Anything else? Here we got the mic.
Also, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that he likes to read his books. He was talking about the new revelation. The Prabhupada said, even when I read my books, I get new fresh realizations.
That's pretty amazing. I'd like to see, watch Prabhupada read his own books. That would be pretty ecstatic.
There's another one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Nara. Prabhupada was in Australia. He asked him a question. He said, is it true that Gazayat, or this Prabhupada spiritual master, knows everything? And Prabhupada said, whatever the spiritual master knows, he should know. So therefore, we're a long way to go. Whatever Prabhupada knows, we should know. So we need to engage in a lot of deep learning.
Yeah, we've got a lot of hearing to do. That's what was the one quality that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur noticed in Srila Prabhupada, that he liked to hear. So it's a very important quality to develop. Okay, thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Go Premanandi.